Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor, and today we're going to be talking about Trick, Take, Bird, and Weather. It's a game by Isaka Makura, and the theme is birds. And honestly, I can't think of a theme about birds, like off the top of my head. I can't really... I did play this indie game called Wingspan, I think it was. And I have pictures of it, which I'll put up. I'm wearing a beak mask, which is fun. But it was interesting because my friends showed me this bumper sticker, which was pretty crazy. It turns out birds aren't real. Bad news. So it turns out that Wingspan and Trick Take Bird are now fantasy games. Because if birds aren't real, they have to be fantasy games. I guess that's good. So hopefully there's a Wingspan expansion that has dragons, chocobos, fantasy birds, the like. But the cool thing is that this also is about weather, which is real, as we know. The hook to Trick Take Bird Weather is the cards don't necessarily have suits on them. What's interesting is it's a must-follow game, but when you play, you have to follow either the number's 10 spot or the 1 spot. So if I play this 11 here, you can play a 12 because it's the same 10 spot, or you can play a 21 or a 31, and it's a must-follow game but based off of the 1s or 10 spot. Really cool concept. Let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. The deck in Trick, Take, Bird, and Weather is made up of 50 cards, number 10 all the way through 59. In the 10 spot, you have the weather suit. So 10s is sunny, then 20s is windy, then cloudy, rainy, and snowy. Then in the 10 spot, you have the bird suit. So at 0, there's no bird. All the way to 9, I think, is a crane. And then at 3-player, you use 39 through 10. At 4-player, you add the 40s. And at 5-player, you add the 50s. Here we have a game set up for 3 players. So no matter the player count, each player will get dealt out 10 cards. Players will look at their cards and they'll choose one card to be set aside face down, which I'll explain the reason of in a little bit. So maybe this is peacocks face down, this is mechanical birds face down, and then this is weathers face down. Then, starting with the lead player, who is the last person who went bird watching, let's say it's peacock, they will start the trick. So if they lead with a 26 here, mechanical bird has to follow suit by either playing a 6 or a 2. So looking at their hand, they can play this 21, 24, 29, or the 16, and let's say they play this 29. So then it goes to weather here, and they can play any of these 20s. So if they play this 22, how this works is the highest played number that followed suit will win, and they will get points for the lowest value in the 1 spot, or these little dots. Because if you look here, for the 26, the big dot means 5, so this is worth 6 points. Whereas the 2 is only 2 small dots for the 22. So the highest number will win it. So mechanical bird will win the trick. They'll get the lowest of the 1s and put it on top. So this means they've won 2 points and the trick. So they'll lead the next trick. So then maybe they play a 24. Coming to weather here, they have to follow suit and they can only play 20s. So they play 20. So if peacock here played the 28, something special just happened. So if the same spot is in the 10 spot and a 0 was played, the 0 actually trumps. And what will happen is the 0 will win it, but it still is the lowest in the 1s that will win. So the 0 will win, and you might think this is bad because the 0 just won 0 points. However, something special happens if you ever score a 0. What happens is you get to choose any of the face down set aside cards earlier in the game and use that as your score. So you could pick your own, or maybe Weather was being tricky and put a low number here and wants to pick someone else's. So maybe Weather after scoring a 0, picks the peacock's face down card. So they'll flip it and reveal they got 5 points. Then they would lead the next trick. Now it's Weather's turn to lead. And maybe they lead with a 27. Coming to Peacock here, they can't follow suit. And if you can't follow suit, so they can't play anything with 7s, they don't have any 7s, or anything with 2s, when they play and follow suit, you can contribute possibly to the lowest 1 spot, so maybe they're going to slough off and give someone only 2 points for winning the trick, but they can't win the trick at all, no matter what happens. So then, coming to Mechanical Helicopter, they can play this 20, or they're forced to play this 21, because that's the only thing that follows suit. So then, they won because it was highest, but they'll get the lowest, which is only this 1 point. Again, just to show here, even though 32 was the highest number, it didn't follow suit, so it couldn't win the trick. Coming back to Weather here, maybe they lead with a 10. And now, looking at their hand, Peacock can play any of these, or they can play this 30. So maybe they play that 30. And then coming to the Helicopter here, they just play 16. So what's interesting is, whenever the 1 tens is played, and the max number of players tens is played in the same trick, something very interesting happens. So in a 3-player game, if there's a 30-something card and a 1-something card, of the cards that followed suit, then something gets triggered. So what happens is everything gets flipped on its head. So instead of the highest winning and then getting the lowest score, so in a regular example, if this exception didn't happen, 30 would win and they would get the 0 and then do the whole special 0 thing. However, since a 30 in the 10s and a 1 was 10s, and they both followed suit, because if this was maybe an 11 and this was a 30 and it couldn't follow suit, this wouldn't happen. It has to be of the lead followed suit if there's a 10 and then player count in the 10s. Kind of a tough exception to follow here. But if it's just the highest and the lowest in the 10 spot, if they both were validly played and followed, then things flip on their head. So instead of the highest winning, then the lowest actually wins. And then instead of the lowest scoring, the highest scoring wins. So instead of the 30 winning and taking the 0, the 10 wins, and it doesn't take the lowest, which is one of zeros, it actually takes the highest. So it takes this 6. So Weather over here would win the trick and get 6 points. And again, just to clear that up, if it was lead 10, and then this was a 20, and then this was a 16, that wouldn't have happened, because it needs to be player count in the 10s with another 1 in the 10s. If this was 20, 16, and 30, also wouldn't have happened, because there wouldn't have been any 10s. Then you would finish out the trick. And what's interesting is these cards that are set off to the side, when a 0 is special scored, they could potentially not be revealed. As you can see here, the 2 zeros that could have been scored on different tricks were actually not scored at all, and the 6 was in that case. So these are just out of the game, essentially. But let's fast forward to the end and see how many points everyone got. At the end, you just score up all the dots, or the 1 spot of all people's tricks, so it's pretty easy because it's just face up here. Then you play a total number of hands per player, so 2 more hands in a 3-player game, and whoever has the most points wins. So that is Trick Take Bird and Weather, and I really do like this game. I think I'm a sucker for interesting twists on trick taking, anything that can take a concept and run with it, and the idea that you're following suit on the 1s or the 10s spot is new and I think pretty well implemented. There are some exceptions and some rules you really need to kind of keep track of while you're playing. You're always evaluating the trick and being like, is this the time that just got swapped? Is this, does the 0 that was just played, is that valid? Are you following suit so you turned on the swapping? There's kind of a lot of things you have to kind of keep track of in this game. But getting past that kind of like trick-to-trick maintenance, I like it. I definitely think it's more tactical of a trick taker. You play the tricks as they come, really. You see this coming and you're like, okay, I maybe have 2 or 3 cards to play that would yield maybe that person less points, or maybe set me up to maybe win more points in the future. There's definitely a moment-to-moment feel to this one. It's still super fun. I enjoy every time I play it, and I think there are small moments of fun setups you can do to yourself. Like if you play low enough and save like a higher of a card, you can kind of bleed out maybe the tens, and hopefully someone doesn't have that one spot that you're not expecting. And so the forced followed suit can be an advantage as you play. I think the way you pick a card and you put it face down has led to the best moments of this game. A note about the graphic design, I like it. I think some in my group felt it to be I think Garish might be a little too strong, but a pretty busy and interesting design. I think it kind of helps because the 10s are weather and the 1s are birds. So even though it kind of looks busy and kind of kooky, it is functional, and the fact that there is no suits and you still have to kind of follow suit, it kind of helps that everything does kind of have a suit. So I like it. I like in this game that you're never really safe. So it's the high number that wins usually. So if I play like a 39 or something in a 3-player game, the highest card, and people are playing 30s, I'll definitely win. I'll get some points for sure. But there's always the 30 exact card that could flip it and win it. And there's also always the 19, because if the 10s and the 30s are both played, then it gets flipped to being the lowest that followed suit. So then the 19 wins. So there's a lot of moments where you're on your toes. You are playing and you're not sure if this is going to work out for you. And I think that kind of makes it so the most interesting decision in this game is always being the last in the trick. You always have, I guess at the end where you're forced, you don't really, but you always have the most interesting decisions when you're at the end of the trick. And I do kind of like that, because if you just won a trick, in a trick taker, you kind of want the lead player to be maybe at a disadvantage because they just won points, right? So they should have maybe kind of an unsure footing. And this game definitely gives that, which is fun. And that is Trick, Take, Bird, and Weather. And if you're looking for maybe a more tactical game, maybe where the tricks kind of come at you one card at a time, really. There are dashes of kind of setups and interesting moments in card play, but really, if you're playing where there's a 9-trick hand and it doesn't really change too much, there's not too much variability in the play, I think you're going to see a little bit of the same maneuvers in this game, but the moments are still fun. When you go to pick someone's and there's a 9 there because they were trying to set it up or try to not have a 0 win too early, and you sneak that 9 from them, it's a really fun, satisfying feeling. So there's highs in this game for sure. And if you don't mind like the trick-to-trick kind of tactical feel of it, I think you're going to like this game. I definitely liked it. I think the twist is what brought me to it, and I think it was a satisfying twist and done really well. So overall, I think it's a good game. And thanks for watching.